This, in the 1970s, this was a thriving place.
The place will be packed, chock-a-block.
A bit like a ghost town, feel like a tumbleweed's gonna fly past.
The decline of Birkenhead Market is not an isolated case. It's a tale that reverberates throughout many former industrial towns across England. But how did a place like this, once a vibrant commercial hub, fall into decline? And are such places destined to dwindle, or can they be brought back to life? Birkenhead faces Liverpool, on the other side of the River Mersey. It was once a thriving hotbed of industry, thanks to its prosperous shipyards which employed thousands of workers. It was the wealth generated by its maritime industry that led to a boom in the town's development. And so Birkenhead Market was born.
We're currently on Market Street, where the market once stood for over 100 years. Famed for its huge size, it used to have stores sprawling all down this road, and people used to come from all over the northwest just to pay it a visit. When I speak to locals, they often recall the old market as a thriving, vibrant, lively place. However, in 1974, the main building burnt down and moved to its current location on Clawton Road. Many say that it hasn't been the same since. But this isn't merely due to a change in location. The fact is, the burning down of the market couldn't have happened at a more unfortunate time, at the beginning of serious economic decline in the area.
Plagued by deindustrialisation during the Thatcher era, unemployment in Birkenhead surged, and the town has struggled to recover since. I remember when I used to come here with my parents in the 90s, they were already saying back then that the market had seen better days, yet it seems apparent that this decline is showing no signs of slowing down. Megan French might be one of the youngest working at the market, but she's also one of the people who's been here the longest. She's been helping out at her family-run stall ever since she was a kid.
I can remember there where there's gaps now used to be two massive clothes shops, and honestly if you weren't in the queue for them, you'd be in the queue over there or the queue for the cafe. There was just no walking space, you couldn't do anything because there were so many people. I've had nightmares where I'll come in and all the shutters are down and then there's just a sign being go home, we've shut, and I'm I feel like that could actually happen one day.
Megan puts it down to a cultural shift, not only in how we buy things, but how we spend our leisure time too.
I think it's internet shopping. I'm a big part to blame in internet shopping as it is because I do it a lot myself. When I was little, a day out would be going to Southport Market or coming here, but people don't see it like that anymore.
The departure of big high street chains has also affected business.
There used to be Marks and Spencers, and that properly, we had everybody coming, but now there's no Marks and Spencers, so it's took away loads of my customers especially, because they'd often go there and then come here, but they're taking away the big high street chains from this area, which is making people go, oh well, I'll just go to Liverpool for it.
Marks and Spencers have been around for decades and even had a stall in the market at the turn of the century. But Marks's isn't the only shop to jump ship. Pretty much half the shops in the town centre are boarded up and empty. As one of the oldest stalls in the market, Ward's Fish has endured and survived the tough economic climate. Established in 1927, Nigel Buckmaster, a fourth-generation fishmonger, runs the business with his brother. When it comes to changes disrupting the high street, he's confident that Birkenhead Market could actually have an upper hand.
Big stores, Marks and Spencers, House of Fraser's going, they can't really adapt quickly. It's a bit like the Titanic with the big iceberg. We can zoom round in a speedboat. They can't adapt, and that's what you've seen in all high streets. It's not just Birkenhead. This is all small towns, old industrial towns, especially in the northwest.
With internet shopping and out-of-town outlets killing off the high street, Nigel thinks that the market could adapt and survive if they go back to their roots.
We should really, in Birkenhead, be a sort of a village-type shopping centre with independent shops, because the big shops won't be here in 5 years' time. Next won't be here, they'll be gone.
Accessibility, however, remains a prime issue. People in Liverpool are often put off by toll prices they have to pay to cross the river. Add parking on top of that, and it's likely double what the postage and packaging would be from the likes of Amazon.
The tunnel is a price factor that puts people off. And on a planning issue, it's been the same here for many years. All roads lead out of Birkenhead or bypass it.
Like the fishmongers, when I look around at the shops that are surviving at the market, they're mostly quite niche. Greg, who runs Royal Mobility, a shop that sells scooters, wheelchairs and walking aids, is one of them.
I think if we could attract new, small and niche businesses in. But I don't know how much it's going to cost to put this into its usable, saleable condition. There are a number of things that need doing. The heating system's a bit dicky, the roof needs work in some places. There are far too many black holes, far too many stalls which aren't being used. I think probably we condense it to a third, perhaps a little bit even more, and then concentrate on refurbishing that bit and just get rid of the rest. But again, you see, we don't know because the council's ideas change not on a daily basis but fairly frequently.
The local rural council owns the building and is set to purchase the lease and breathe life back into the market. But many traders complain that their dialogue with the council has been virtually non-existent and they've been pretty much left in the dark when it comes to future plans.
It's been a problem for years, is the dialogue between the council and the independent traders in the market. Primarily because the council have had many plans that don't come to fruition. So really they haven't really got any credibility with plans. We get nice pictures and every few months they'll come and say, oh look, we've got more CGI pictures. They don't mean anything until you see an actual plan and spades in the ground.
We don't get told anything. The first thing we hear is when we read it in the paper.
Is it going to be workers ordering stock for Christmas, getting ready for Christmas, or you're going to come along and say sling your rock? You can't play politics with people's lives. Most people here, this is their life. This is their livelihood, and we're being kicked in the pants. They're doing this today, they're doing something next week, they're doing something the week after. Oh, sorry. That's the attitude that we get from Phil Davis and his mother.
Leader of the Royal Council, Phil Davis, is spearheading plans to revamp the market. It's all part of a £1 billion scheme in which they've teamed up with private company Muse to redevelop council-owned land and split the profit. With storeholders complaining about the lack of clarity over future plans, we met up with Phil to find out exactly what's on the agenda.
It's been well trailed that markets and actually lots of town centres have struggled with the growth of online shopping. Shopping patterns have changed. So all of these factors have contributed to places like Birkenhead Market really struggling to keep going. So we need to almost reinvent town centres. We really need to reinvent markets. The market is an example of something that could be a USP, will be a USP, but if we can do something really iconic down at Woodside, that gives people a reason to get on the ferry from Liverpool and come over. I've been to Rotterdam Market twice now in the last year, and it is just an amazing, amazing place. It's a £175 million project, regeneration project. It's got apartments around an arch. It's got all the market stalls on the ground floor, and it predominantly is good quality food, drink, beverages. It is just the most amazing experience, and they have 4 million people who visit it just because it's a fantastic place to be. So, I mean, that's the kind of thing that I think we should be aspiring to. Cinema, you know, leisure facilities, you know, bars, restaurants, etc. So there's a kind of overall experience. That
but if you're building a cinema, you're just knocking down a cinema.
No,
like,
I think it's just about relocating the facilities we've already got.
Just to put it into perspective, the council owns this land here, 300 metres away from the market. Meanwhile, plans have surfaced to knock down the existing leisure facilities, which include a cinema, and to rebuild them, well, in the same place. Then there's talk of having a food market down by the river, over a mile away. But this isn't accommodating to all businesses, leaving many concerned about whether they have a future in the new complex.
There will be plenty of opportunity because I'm very clear that you know we've got to take people with us, and this has got to be done with people rather than to people. So I think there will be plenty of opportunity for people to get involved, and you know nobody's got a monopoly of good ideas.
It wasn't long before our interview was interrupted.
New York, New Jersey.
Sorry?
You want to copy New Jersey?
No, I was saying I think Wirral can be what Manhattan is, Brooklyn is to Manhattan.
Cloud nine, my old son.
You've got to aspire, you've got to be ambitious.
You can't aspire.
Think big.
The people have got no money, they've got no jobs. Well, there's no work, there's no industry here.
But there will be work.
We've got to take flocks over where they go.
Which block of flats?
Don't you even know?
No, they have at the old ABC
The whole
store.
political class shall lag. I say Conservative or what? You're all a bunch of laggers.
We'll go.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Thank you.
Who explained it? Phil Doings, or whatever his name is. But a waste of space. The whole lot of them. They need to get a grip. They need to get a grip. This was a thriving place. Every stall was taken, and it was thriving. People used to come, because no one opened. There's never nowhere to go. You know, the same as the town centre here. They're dying. It's dying. What do they want? They might as well bulldoze the whole place.
It's easy to make a villain out of the council, but all of this talk of USP and turning Birkenhead into Rotterdam or Brooklyn seemed to validate the vendors' concerns that the council is out of touch. I also couldn't ignore the fact that at no point during the interview did Phil stop to talk to any of the market stall vendors. Overall, the plan seemed quite hazy, so we went and spoke to the current holder of the lease, developer and contractor Larry Embrough.
I think the £1 billion investment is still being sorted out in the minds of the new joint venture company with the local authority and Muse Development, who are the chosen partner. I don't think the plans are in place. Wherever they put Rotterdam in there, and everybody envisages, 50 million flats above the local market. It won't be like that. It's okay in Rotterdam because it's very cosmopolitan. Birkenhead isn't as yet.
But Larry has an alternative plan up his sleeve.
We're dealing with one of the biggest, when I say biggest, I mean absolutely enormous people in China who run a wholesale stroke retail market. There's 57 million square foot of wholesale stroke retail premises there. They're based in 3 areas in China, and it's a massive opportunity for us to begin that process here. There's nothing like this in the UK at the minute. All the big boys, if they don't get their own way, as M&S have proved, as BTs will prove, unfortunately, House of Fraser, they just go, they'll up and go. But markets and small independent traders will always be able to manage situations like that. There's got to be places for small independent traders in town centres. There has to be.
I guess the question is it really necessary to move the market down the road in £1 billion project? And are there fundamental issues that can be addressed right now? Better advertising, lower rent incentives, encouraging niche retailers and cheaper parking were all cited as practical solutions. One positive thing to gain from this is that places like Birkenhead Market needn't face the same fate as high street giants. The council's references to Rotterdam weren't entirely invalid. Although shopping habits have changed, the desire for niche ethical products from small businesses means that markets are undergoing a resurgence. But you don't have to look that far from home to see its success. Over in Liverpool, the newly built Baltic Triangle is an example of how markets can thrive.
So whether it turns into something like this, or is Larry's plan of becoming a wholesaler's, or is completely revamped by the council, one thing is clear: the future of Birkenhead Market isn't entirely lost.